Hello and welcome to another episode of Trade Finance Talks. I'm Silvia, a senior reporter at TFG. Today I'm here at Sibos 2025 in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm going to be talking to Thomas Egner, Secretary General of the EBA, and we're going to be chatting about European regulation and the future of the payments industry. Thomas, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to Sibos this year?
That's a very good question. To my person, I'm heading the association now for almost 10 years. I'm in my 10th year. And the interesting thing about Sibos is to compare, let's say, the developments in Europe to what's going on globally. You know that we run our own event, EBA Day, very much concentrated on Europe, very much concentrated on payments. And here you see the entire system. You see colleagues from other industries, securities, payments all over the place globally, and to test ideas, talk to them, test, yes, as I said, test ideas and get feedback from the colleagues, how they do it in their communities, in their continents. That's, I think, a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of international interoperability, we've been hearing a lot at Sibos, or I've been hearing a lot in panels, about how Europe is increasingly advanced in payments and increasingly, cooperative. I'm wondering, how can we ensure that the European payments industry still remains interoperable with the rest of the world, especially emerging economies?
I think there are a couple of instruments which industry has at hand to secure this. Number one, based on defined schemes, based on defined standards, based on defined market practices. I think that's super important because people always talk about ISO standards and ISO 2022. But the art of ISO 2022 is to define market practices, to make this standard framework applicable to everyone. So that's a bit the story we are following up upon also as an association, and also perhaps to have a good governance on all of these processes, perhaps region by region. What we do here in Europe with our market practices, do it globally on the PNPG level for the payment, and I think that is the way to deal with the challenge and the problem to make things interoperable. Also, you speak on the same standards, you use the same words, but at the end of the day, it's also important that you do the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think speaking of standards and doing the same thing, going back to Europe, another hot topic is the VOP deadline. That's about a week from today, I think.
Yes.
How are you seeing banks kind of grapple with this deadline? What do you think the main consequences and changes are going to be?
Well, if you talk to bankers around in the conferences and on the exhibition floors, I hear a couple of messages. Message number one is we are there from a technical point of view. So it will happen. We will be ready. We will be final. Everything is good. What banks are not sure about is the reaction on the customer side, because VOP will come with a couple of uncertainties. The reactions bank have to mirror back to their customers. How prepared are the customers? I think it's not an ecosystem question, it's about a question of interoperability from an educational point of view, so that customers understand what's going on and that they will prepared to continue, so to say, their payments journey based on the different feedbacks they get from the banks on the different items.
Absolutely. And something I was wondering about with the upcoming VOP deadline and with customers in general wanting, the new thing is faster and faster payments, but also cheaper payments. I'm wondering how banks are balancing that with an increasing regulatory push or an increasing, need for customer protection and anti-fraud measures.
I think there's a simple answer to this, and we're seeing this around industry, and the answer is collaboration. And collaboration means also on different levels. Of course, you can talk about different standards, but you can also talk about sorting. This is what we are seeing, that banks share cost by doing things together from a very practical point of view and from an implementation point of view. I think this is a way forward, so that you really share expenses, not only the experiences, but also on the cost side.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of cooperation, kind of zooming out a little bit, how are you seeing banks and institutions like the EBA kind of anticipate regulatory changes?
Well, there I must say the association, as you know, we're a non-political association, so we are not in lobbying, we're not in advocacy. But what we do is, coming back to an earlier point I made, is we are in market practices, and we do have our practitioners working groups, and we have people coming to the association saying, well, look, This could be a challenge. This could be a problem. Can we share experiences? Can we come to joint position, to harmonized positions? And this is the way we do it. And I think that leads the entire industry in a very practical way forward to deal with regulations, in the sense of joining forces, as I said, understanding regulations, coming to polite agreements, and to therefore meet the challenges regulation poses on banks.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can ask, what are the things that you're hearing the most in kind of these meetings or from banks that come to you and say we're having this problem, we want to share experiences? What are the kind of most common experiences that you're seeing?
Well, number one, if we look at topics, of course, it's about BOP. It's things what we can do together. It's also on cross-border payments. So we did a couple of works on the topic of OCTs. This is also something, a hot topic, at least within the European community, which has been discussed at Sibos. So these are the activities we're pursuing. And there we see a market collaboration, and there we see the agreement on a certain activity going forward in the industry, which is, I think, nice and proves that we have a good way to deal with these things as an association.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question is kind of looking ahead. So looking at the next 25 years of payments, which I know is a long time, what do you think are going to be the biggest challenges and the biggest development in the industry?
Yeah, you already said it, 25 years, that's a very, very long time. And if you look at the, let's say, the turnover of technology in the industry, I think some people say it's 10 years, some people say it's 15 years. So if you look at the time span of 25 years, you could say, well, it's almost 2 generations. So very hard to predict what's going on, but from the debates we will be having, or we are having, is really the impact technology has on the business. So it's not so much on the business side, but looking at what has happened in between Sibos last year and Sibos this year, where last year everyone talked about stablecoins. Now we see projects, and the industry is bringing this from paper into reality, not in production but in reality, I would say. And if you map that on the 25 years, I'm not sure where we will be in 25 years, which is 2050, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.